faithfully delivering value, exploring global literature. Hi, this is Sally's Book Club. Today, I'm going to unpack this book called The True Believer. First published in 1951, this timeless classic stands alongside The Crowd and The Crowd in the Mob as the triumvirate of mass psychology studies. The author Eric Hoffer lived an extraordinary life. Blinded at 7, miraculously regained sight at 15, orphaned early, his childhood maid warned Hoffer men in his family never lived past 40, a prophecy that drove him to repeated suicide attempts and nomadic existence before that age. After surviving the cursed age, Hoffer settled as a longshoreman at San Francisco docks. Though lacking formal education, he devoured knowledge, held library cards from nearly every town in California. By 49, he penned The True Believer. The book swiftly sold hundreds of thousands of copies. This cemented Hoffer's status in intellectual circles. At 62, UC Berkeley appointed him senior research fellow in political science. Reagan awarded 80-year-old Hoffer the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Crowning his remarkable journey, he passed at 81, outliving the prophecy by 4 decades. The True Believer. This masterpiece crystallized Hoffer's dockyard observations. He studied longshoremen's behaviors, engaging them in conversations during breaks. Noticed a coworker who neglected his duties but eagerly helped others. Hoffer concluded, people mock incompetence in core tasks but applaud unnecessary assistance. From such mundane observations, Hoffer systematized profound insights into mass movements. This classic examines why people join collective actions. What drives ordinary people to fanatical participation? Hoffer dissects mass movements' allure and participants' psychological profiles. His unique writing style and incisive analyses earned him the title longshoreman philosopher among readers. The Chinese translation spans 110,000 words with remarkable structural clarity. Now, I'm going to break down the core ideas through 3 key questions. First, how do mass movements recruit true believers? Second, what transforms ordinary people into fanatics? Third, what role do leaders play in mass movements? Question 1. How do mass movements attract fanatical followers? Before answering, let's clarify Hoffer's definition of mass movements. Understanding this foundation reveals their magnetic appeal. Hoffer's concept encompasses religious revivals, revolutions, nationalist campaigns, any collective mobilization. Essentially, whenever people mass in streets demanding change, that's his focus, but with 2 crucial limitations. First, he examines only movement's embryonic stages, how crowds initially coalesce. Take China's Taiping Rebellion, history's largest peasant uprising. Hoffer would study only up to Heng Xiquan's 1853 capture of Nanjing, ignoring subsequent developments. Second, he avoids moral judgments about movements' nature. What does this mean? Rather than labeling movements good or bad, he seeks their common psychological roots. Hoffer illustrates this with botanical analogy. Tomatoes and deadly nightshade share solanaceae traits, though one nourishes and the other poisons. Similarly, all mass movements share core dynamics, collective actions driven by frustrated individuals seeking change. Hoffer observes, success and failure fundamentally shape our worldview. Thus, successful individuals perceive the world as friendly and prefer maintaining the status quo, while the frustrated crave radical change. From personal experience, those achieving success tend to view society as reasonably fair. Conversely, chronic failures often develop cynical worldviews through life's hardships. As the saying goes, don't blame society for bad luck, nor government for misfortune. But when disaffected masses connect, they increasingly attribute failures to systemic issues. However, discontent alone doesn't drive revolutionary change. Hoffer notes conservative groups like fishermen and farmers rarely join movements, despite hardships. Only when the disenfranchised gain sense of agency do they seek transformation. Mass movements empower participants with courage and collective strength. This constitutes mass movements' first psychological appeal. The second attraction is more paradoxical: confidence. Hoffer argues movements thrive not through self improvement, but collective self negation. This seems contradictory. Fanatics appear supremely confident. Then why call it self denial? Because movements provide escape from failed personal identities. Participants trade individuality for group based confidence. The frustrated see themselves as personal failures. By joining movements, they erase personal thoughts and merge with collective consciousness. Thus liberated from self doubt, they ride the movement's momentum. Thus, Hoffer observed, the unemployed prefer hope peddlers over relief providers. Relief offers temporary sustenance, but hope promises life transformation. Life rarely grants transformative opportunities. Driven by hope, even the starving will rush into movements seeking belonging. We've established movements attract the frustrated through hope and confidence. But not all who face adversity join collective actions. What specific types of disillusioned individuals become movement recruits? The author identifies 7 archetypes: the poor, extreme egoists, the ambitious, minorities, the bored, criminals, and marginalized souls. The term marginalized souls combines characters meaning field strange and scattered, referring to displaced groups, typically including immigrants, unemployed graduates, and artists believing themselves underappreciated. Let's examine 2 representative categories. First, the poor. Though not all impoverished are disillusioned, some slum dwellers cling to familiar misery, resisting change attempts. Hoffer notes even proud poor become change aversion after prolonged deprivation. Thus, chronic poverty develops perverse appeal. Unfree poor, slaves, or creative poor rarely embrace movements. Their bonds, whether chains or creativity, immunize against mass movements. Exactly. Attachment to existing order negates desire for change. Thus, only the wounded poor join movements, those newly impoverished. What defines wounded poor? Are those recently thrust into poverty through sudden catastrophe. The French Revolution's momentum came from farmers bankrupted by natural disasters and taxes. The 20th century Nazi rise in Germany followed World War I economic collapse and punitive Allied measures devastating middle classes. These former elites, unable to accept status loss, became prime movement recruits. Second category, minority groups. Hoffer's term being ethnic minorities, though conceptually broader, encompassing all marginalized communities. Double alienation, being both failures and minorities, destroys social belonging. They could be religious minorities, social outcasts, or perpetual victims like Aku. Aku's revolutionary fervor stemmed from complete social exclusion. In the true story of Aku, constant humiliation fuels his desire for upheaval. Excluded from existing order, he desperately seeks collective redemption. Such individuals abandon individuality to bask in movements' reflected glory. Summary: movements attract followers by offering change and substituting collective confidence for personal inadequacy. Secondly, rootless individuals, new poor, minorities, criminals, find belonging through mass action.